Actually, I thought where we could transition this is it's a little bit of a sort of seamless segue, but another great AWPer that is having a few issues, but on a different relative level. It's got to be Dev1ce in an IP, right? This move, listen, I remember thinking to myself, the one part I don't worry about this is Dev1ce player. He's one of the most fucking consistent players of all time. Like, he's a model professional. You know, he puts in the hours. He's smart about how he plays. He's going to take his angles. He doesn't just, he's not the guy actually like fucking Kenny S who just like runs to mid on Mirage 8 times in a row. And it's like, well, I killed him 7, so I did my job. It's like, what about the game when they get you 5 times, Kenny? Like, he's not that guy. He's the guy who's like, you game plan, you figure out the demos, you do your homework. So a guy like that, in theory, right, shouldn't ever really be able to have a slump. And I have to say, if you go and look at like the last sort of like 4 or 5 series he's played in NiP, you look at some of the stats, like this isn't the Dev1ce I was seeing in Astralis. Something's happened, and I know Richard brought up this angle, so I want to like interject this into it, and you can potentially go off this or in-game stuff. Richard's point he's making is, and I think there's something to it, is Dev1ce is right now in a whirlwind shitstorm of all the bad PR. Because not only obviously does every Astralis fan semi-hate him because they think he's betrayed them, but then obviously he's the Danish player, so any NiP fan who has to blame them for anything is going to go, where's Dev1ce playing well enough? And then obviously there's all that shit with the Anonymous thing, and then him stupidly saying like, this is so hard for me to win bloody games and rob you of this victory post. Like every fucking step he could put wrong, a rake goes in his face, doesn't it? It's like mental. So the mad thing is, if you think of his career, he's the classic person who obviously was someone who was a choker at one point in his career and admirably overcame it. But I tell you what, people forget this. He played in the same fucking core his entire career. He actually never had that idea of like, this is the thing people never give people like Nico credit for. Nico's basically spent his whole life on the road in teams playing in second language English with random mixes of players and still put up the numbers of the great players of all time. Like, that's actually fucking God tier, mate. That's some like Jose Mourinho. I'll just go to every team and they get good level shit. Like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. So I think you look at this guy and it's like, I start to get worried for him, mate, because I thought, he'll turn it around, he'll course correct. But like, pressure obviously in the past has been an issue for him, but then he at least had the comfort of being in a team, grow together, overcome shit. Like, it feels like right now shit's rough. What do you think of this, Vince? It's obviously a player you've watched many times. What do you think of the whole situation with him? Because it was supposed to be like NiP hyped it, like this is going to be the saviour of our team. We're going to the top.
I'm really glad that you mentioned the aspect of him being in the same core, because I think with the whole choking aspect that obviously a lot of people would have forgot about now back in like the TSM days, etc. It was the team themselves that came together. And I feel like that camaraderie, that kinship that you build with the other 4 players in the roster, or at least the core of the roster, is something that will always keep going forward with you. Like, that'll always be, if you're having an off game, you can look to your side and you see a player next to you that you know is going to perform, and that's going to give you more confidence and spur you on. Can he do that with NiP? Like, you do have players like Rez there that have been playing really well, but I don't think it's the same level and the same caliber. Plus the fact, one of the reasons he was always criminally underrated for me and never given his proper due and props is because he was playing with some of the best players that have graced Counter-Strike in their particular roles. Glaive, Dupree, these kind of guys. So now you're going from that, where everyone pulled their weight. Sometimes Dev1ce would carry, but then you'd have games where even Glaive did, or Magisk, or Dupree, to a NiP team where the pressure is absolutely on his shoulders. Like, you maybe get Rez step up now and again for a huge performance. Hell, even players like Hampus have been doing solid work, but it now has to be more top heavy with him carrying. And on top of everything else, this feels like just so many, it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts sort of mentality here, where he's got so much going on, this cauldron, this vortex of negativity that's surrounding him. Of course, it's going to impact his gameplay. He's a human being at the end of the day that has to, wake up and deal with vitriol and hatred on a daily basis now. That's going to impact your performance on the server. And the sad part is that's part of the vicious cycle, because then that feeds into the negativity that you're getting, and that makes you play worse, which feeds into it. So I do feel really bad for him right now. I've got to be honest with you. I think he's in a really awkward position.
Thoughts, Mix?
I don't know. I think, honestly, my honest opinion is that I think in a few months' time, I think Dev1ce will be obviously, I don't know, if he'll go back to playing number 3, top few player in the world level, consistently on an IP. Just depending on how the system goes and how everything like that is going. But I do believe that Dev1ce eventually is gonna find his groove again. He's gonna be playing within the within the level that we know that Dev1ce will play. And I think that also really counts on NiP kind of figuring their shit out, because it's at the moment it's there's Dev1ce, there's Rez, there's Hampus. That's a solid core 3. Rez has been playing a lot better than he was last year. Hampus is someone that I think is really good, and he's pretty similar to Glaive, not in terms I don't know how he calls, obviously, but in terms of like the map control that he takes and how aggressive he is and like the plays that he makes, stuff like that. So for me, it's like they have this like kind of like revolving door of a fifth at the moment between like ZTR, the academy players. Plopsky isn't really playing that well. So like kind of like the comparison I make in my head is that like Device, like NiP kind of has like the glaive and like the Dupree figured out and like Rez and Hampus, but he doesn't have like the Zipniks and the Magus that he can like fall back on and rely on like his anchors and stuff. It feels like those two things are like kind of not figured out yet. One of them is the revolving door. The other one, Plopsky's like always been a pretty good talent, but is like really struggling in this team. So I think it'll also count on NiP figuring that out, because I don't think Device is someone like a Nico that's just going to be like fragging out no matter what the team.
Yes.
Like you said, like he's been playing within the same like insane core for like the last like 6 years or something. So it's going to be definitely an adjustment period to get that figured out and get comfortable with that. And it's also up to the team to make sure that they're building the right team around him.
That's actually one of the areas where I do feel like, unfortunately, that trio of players who just have that special quality, it's Simple, Zebu, and Nico, right? Where, as you say, you can basically put any 4 humans with a warm pulse in the chairs and they just do the same shit every game. Like, somehow they don't get affected by their teammates. I don't really understand it myself. The problem is it's skewed what fans think is you should expect from a player. You can take a lot of amazing players in Counter-Strike. I'm talking those players that are going to be in the top 10 each year. And if you just randomly change the 5th player on the team, you have no idea what impact that could have, what ripple effect that could go off across the whole team. Especially, by the way, if you tie it to the Device case, if I had to guess, when someone chokes and they have problems when they can't perform, part of it is, like you're saying, the rest of the team might have to evolve. Now, we might have to know there's a safety net. You know what? If I don't perform, it's not the end of the world. This guy can... That might free you up a little bit to do it. Also, there's the whole factor of you thinking to yourself, like, basically... let me think how you describe this. Threw myself off with that safety net analogy there. Let me think. Oh, that's it. What I was going to say was, if you're someone who choked, one of the first things I would try and do if I'm your IGL or coach is, let's make this guy as comfortable as possible. Let's remove every... So if you're an AWPer, for example, I'll tell you a classic thing that used to happen back in the 1.6. If you ever had a sick AWPer, but they're one of those ones that's mega paranoid that they're getting flanked all the time, you literally give them a bodyguard. You have like a lurker/support player who always plays behind them. And they know that guy always watches the angles. He always makes sure someone couldn't have snuck past and got to my side. Because then they literally can just watch their angle. They never have to do that shit where it's like, I'm watching like down mid on Mirage and the guy can step out of shot and shoot me in the side of the head. I never have that like paranoia. I just watch my angle. If you're changing 5th all the time, you don't have any idea on God's green earth what the players might do or what the knock-on effect is, etc. So yeah, I do think that's an overlooked aspect, because I don't care that Simple, Zebu, Nico can do this. Like, by the way, extra props to them, not diss to the people who can't do that. There's a lot of great players would struggle if you change the 5th player, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it also goes back, Duncan, to the point that we raised near at the start of the show as well, when it comes to personalities and balance again, right? If you have a 5th that's constantly revolving, you don't know the personality, you don't know how they'll mesh with the other players. Will it knock Device off kilter? Will it affect his gameplay in any way? Kind of what you're just talking about there with positioning on the server, but also out of the server stuff as well. Like it can all have impacts. And so if he's already unsettled in a myriad of other ways, whether it be like social media or his own performances, this is the kind of stuff that, just take out your comfort zone that little bit more. I think in Astralis being so comfortable for so long and knowing each other so well, that really afforded him to fully focus on his own gameplay and less so on what his teammates were doing. And I think you're seeing a bit of a byproduct. I do agree with what Mick said, though. I feel like if NiP can just slightly iron over a couple of these issues, he absolutely can get back into some solid form within the next few months. I don't think it's a case of pushing the self-destruct button or the alarm bells just yet. But it's definitely, like, you can hear them in the distance, right? Like there's enough little worries and concerns at the moment.
By the way, one point that you made as well that I also think is a banging point is it's also about the idea when you're in a core that you've been through the fire, like you know what that guy's made of. Like I've always thought, this is one thing that's really misunderstood. I'm going to explain it to fans now. From the outside, when we look at a team, think of classic examples, like when Smiths was still on G2 as an active player, right? We look from the outside, like harsh fans who just look at the numbers and the raw test and we go, listen, the guy's washed, get rid of him, like he shouldn't be in the team anymore. But I know why people like ochs keep him in the team, because what they do in their brain is, when they think of Smiths, all these images flash up in their brain when I was winning championships with him, when he was a really good support player, when he was flashing for me, when he was a great teammate. They think of rounds that he's won that were unexpected. He had a way better tournament than people said then, and she was AWPing well. And all these good memories flash forwards because of the positive associations, and they think he can do it again. Now, they might be wrong at this point in time. Maybe now he is washed and now he's not going to do that anymore. But that's why I always said, like, people who haven't played won't realise the impact, like, certain key moments will have. Like, if a guy won, like, some god tier 1v3 in an impossible scenario in, like, a major quarter final, that you're going to give that guy months and months extra going forward. He might play like shit for 2 months after that, but in your brain, you're always going to think, something tells me this guy can do it. Like, I believe he can make it. The other thing as well is this, and by the way, he obviously doesn't have those people on NiP yet. The one other thing I would say is this. This is where PR can bite you in the ass, because people can use your words against you. You know, when he joined the team, listen, what Dev1ce should have just said is this. Listen, I've got health issues. I already have issues playing at tier 1. I want to have a more comfortable lifestyle. I live in Stockholm right now. I don't want to travel to Denmark all the time. My girlfriend lives here. I'm going to maybe have a family here. I speak the language. There's a million reasons to be here. There's actually not as many reasons to be elsewhere. Who knows what Astralis is doing? So for now, in the online period, I'm going to take a slight step back. I'm going to help NiP build their project up, and I hope one day we can be at that level. That would be like the perfect answer, right? Instead, he came with all these myriad angles, and one of them, right, sounded sexy as fuck, but it's making him look stupid now. He said, well, of course, I've never been the number one player. So, I've never had that status. I want a chance to maybe be number one. So what you're telling me is you willingly, of your own volition, stepped into the simple nightmare simulator. Are you out of your motherfucking mind? Are you aware? Like, this is why I said, because fans used to always say that to me. When I used to compare Nico to Cold Zera mix, they used to always go like this. You don't understand the game, Thorin. Cold Zera plays with Fallen, Fur, top players. So as a result, there's not as many frags to go around. Nico plays with bad players, so it's easier to drop 40. And I always used to say, you are aware it's basically the opposite. Like, it's real. Like, if you've ever played a Face-It game, everyone knows, I'm an elo hell. Well, just carry the game then, bro. Drop 50. You can't, because you're 1v4 all the time. You have no cover. Everyone's just shooting you. They haven't done any damage to the fucking opponent, can't. It's like, it's actually way harder. So I've always thought, be careful what you wish for. Because, mate, I would never want to be in a simple scenario. I'm pretty sure simple doesn't want to on some level.
There's like plenty of games where I've seen Dev1ce, like, even like on Astralis, where like Dev1ce will just randomly go like 5-20 in a match, right? Like, I feel like this happened like once every like 3 months or something. But like, his teammates on Astralis are good enough that like they can still win the game generally,
yes.
Between like all the others. But like, if Dev1ce goes like 5-20 on NiP right now, there's no chance. Like, they're not winning that match. So it's like he doesn't know like what Hampus is made of, especially like on LAN. He's never played on LAN with these people like on stage. He doesn't know like when the pressure's on, like how's Hampus gonna play, how is Rez gonna like step up to the occasion. His other two teammates that aren't really settled at the moment. So it's a tough thing to get used to. It's definitely like a tough mindset to go from, okay, I can go like 5-20, like there's a good chance we can still win the match, versus like if I don't perform, we literally can't win.
Dude, when Simple was going, like, when I was doing my desk, they looked up the stats while I was talking about, like, Na'Vi against Gambit. And they were like, well, thing is, though, Simple's only averaging a 1.2 rating against Gambit. They do shut him down. It's like, motherfucker, that would be, like, the best series ever for the rest of the play. What are you talking about? Like, what? Listen, by definition, you haven't shut down a player averaging 1.2 rating against you. That probably implies you can't shut him down, really, can you? Give me a break.
The whole thing with the Dev1ce situation as well is like, I don't know if NiP got in his ear and wanted him to say something like that, for the
to pump him up or something.
Whatever. Yeah, maybe to just get some mind games in. But like, there's nothing wrong with him wanting to be there with his girlfriend and not travel as much, especially if his health is concerned. Like, it's no big deal to take a step back in your career if it's for the greater good and for the bigger picture. I don't think anyone would have held that against him. Actually, a lot of people would have really respected him for taking that decision and coming out and saying it. So I can't help but feel that either he shot himself in the foot or NiP have, because expectations now are even higher. Because guess what? If you come out and say, never been the top player in the world, want to be top player in the world, and then you're just getting banged out time after time, now people can quote that against you. Now people are saying, well, you expected to be the best team in the world, the best player in the world, and you're getting beat by tier 2 teams. You're constantly losing 2-0 to these teams that you should on paper be beating. That just feeds into all of the negativity that he's dealing with. It's such a strange own goal to me. I don't understand it.
Yeah, like the thing is also that like, even if like you don't like come in and you don't say that like, okay, like if Device didn't come in and didn't like, sorry, I'm trying to like reverse my words.
Sorry.
If he didn't come in and say, I want to be the number one player in the world, or like I want to be like, you know, win majors with NiP, right? It's not going to take away from if they actually do it. Like if Device actually became the number one player of NiP and he never said that, like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Like it's still epic as fuck to do. Or if he goes and wins a major of NiP, like that's still like super, like that's still super epic. Like that's still going to be like, you know, additional mega points to his legacy. Like that's going to be like super, yeah, it's just going to be like super amazing.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.